system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free. Marching with a purpose, we're taking it higher. Fighting through the struggle, igniting the fire. No more silence, we'll make the noise loud. Together in this battle, standing strong and proud. Injustice fades when courage aligns. Rise up together, break the confines. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice, united and free. United and free. United and free. So rise up now, it's our time to shine. Together we'll write a new paradigm. You paradigm, you paradigm.
All right, everybody. So justice is a process here, and we are doing this live. Now, I originally was going to do another analysis show, and then I was digging into the case, and I realized because everything wasn't setting right with me based on the evidence that I was seeing, and I'm like, there's got to be more to this thing. And it turns out there was. So it turns out this is what we watched today was actually day 3. Yesterday was day 2. And turns out back in December, they started this hearing, this preliminary hearing, continued it until yesterday. So there's a whole nother day, and there's important evidence that we haven't seen, which goes to make a little more clear, helping understand what they have against this guy. In fact, the gentleman we've heard was with him, and on the day this little girl disappeared, Cordell, he testified. He was the first witness called. So I have all of that. We're going to watch day 1, and we're going to watch the AM session. Turns out there going to be like a couple hour hearing when I found this and got into it. Turns out there was actually an AM session. So I have that broadcast, minus one witness. And I believe there was a witness that testified earlier this afternoon. It was a juvenile. They didn't air it. So we're going to get all caught up. We're going to see all that. It's only going to take the morning session that we missed yesterday, I think was like 40 minutes. So it's going to be probably about 3 hours to get this caught up. But it's 7:40 now. That'll take us to probably about maybe 11:40 tonight. And we'll be all caught up for tomorrow when what is expected to be the final day of this hearing wraps up, and we will be able to see and actually understand what the judge rules. Because right now, is this all we have? But apparently there's more. So we're going to find out what else was presented that we haven't seen yet, and see if that changes things. Because I was very concerned coming out of the day, because I think this guy did this. I think he's a predator. But I'm like, is this enough? Is there enough? It doesn't feel like there's enough right now to convict this guy, or not convict this guy, even to pound this thing over for trial. I mean, I was confused as to exactly, what the strong evidence is. So anyways, I just want to give a little intro here to explain what we're doing and why this now says day 1 and day 2 AM, and I changed all the other videos to reflect correctly. So if you go into the place, you're going to see day 2, then you're going to see today's labeled as day 3. Tomorrow will be day 4 on this extremely interesting case. So with that little intro out of the way, let's jump into the courtroom and start watching.
Okay, we are on the record. This is case 2459617. The people of State of Michigan versus Jarvis Butts, charged with count 1 homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated. Count 2 child sexually abusive activity. Count 3 criminal sexual conduct, second degree, person under 13, defendant 17 years of age or older. With the habitual offender fourth offense notice set for an exam today. Appearances.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kinder Ripley on behalf of the people, P83688.
And good morning, Your Honor. Matthew Mathews on behalf of the people as well, P82796.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning to your staff, Neighborhood Defender Services, by Ken Reagan, P82125, on behalf of Mr. Jarvis Butts.
And good morning, Your Honor. Neighborhood Defender Service by Cheryl Cook, P83973, also on behalf of Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, would you please state your name?
Mr. Butts, you can have a seat.
Good morning, Mayor Warren Butler, Neighborhood Defender Service as well.
Thank you. Okay, any preliminary matters before we begin the exam?
Defense just would request her to invoke the rule of sequestration.
And the people would ask for an exception for the officer in charge who is sitting in the back, Sergeant Shannon Jones.
And just question whether or not Sergeant Johnson has testified today.
Not today, but she will be testifying.
No objection for exam purposes.
Okay, if there is anyone in the courtroom who may testify or is a witness on this case, that means today or at trial. Now, also notice this case is being streamed live on YouTube. So if there's anyone on YouTube who may testify or is a witness on this case, you must also log off and not view the proceedings today. Anything else?
No objection. Madam Secretary, stated.
Okay, you call your first witness, Ms. Ripley.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, people call Cordell Wright.
Stand right here, Mr. Wright. Face the judge. Raise your right hand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Watch your step.
Do you have his name on?
Could you spell his first name for me?
Cordell.
You may begin, Ms. Ripley.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Good morning.
And Mr. Wright, do you have a nickname?
Yes.
And what's your nickname?
King.
Is that K-I-N-G?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How old are you?
37.
When's your birthday?
11/17.
And Mr. Wright, back in January 2024, were you on a MDOC tether?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And what dates were you on tether from?
From March 14th, 23 to March 28th of 24.
And what were your other restrictions back then?
I could leave the house from 6 in the morning. I had to be back in by 9 p.m.
Mr. Wright, do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know Jarvis Butts?
I first met him, we worked together at a shop called Frank's. And then we owned the shop together.
Okay. And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
No?
Would you be able to stand up so you can look around?
Yes.
No.
When did you meet Mr. Butts?
2018.
And you said you two worked together initially at a place called Frank's?
Frank's.
All right. Where was Frank's at?
He has a couple locations. He has 7, but the one I met him at was on Warren and Neff.
Warren and them. Okay. And what locations of Frank's did you work at with Mr. Butts?
Warren and Neff.
May I approach?
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I'm approaching people's proposed exhibits 4, 5, and 6. Can you look at these and tell me if you recognize those?
I recognize this one, and this one.
Okay. And those are those a fair and accurate depiction of the Frank's Auto Shops? At least 2 of them on Warren and the other one maybe on Harper?
Yes.
Okay. Which is the one that's on Harper?
The last one of the inside.
Okay. And that's People's Exhibit, proposed exhibit 6?
Yes.
Okay. You're not moving for the admission of People's 4, 5, and 6?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted as People's Exhibits 4, 5, and 6.
Thank you, Judge. How long did you work at Frank's with Mr. Butts?
A few years.
About how many years would you estimate?
2.
And when did that change from Frank's to another shop?
Maybe in 23 sometime.
Okay. Would it be earlier in the year or later in the year?
Maybe mid, maybe in May. Well, maybe April, May.
And then where did you guys work then?
We got a shop together on 9,000 Connor.
And what is at 9,000 Connor?
A sicko, a car wash, and our shop was in the middle of both.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Wright, I'm handing you what's marked as People's Proposed Exhibits 7 and 8. Can you look at those and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I recognize.
Okay. And are those a fair and accurate depiction of your shop at 9,000 Connor?
Yes, it is.
And you're not with the admission of People's Proposed Exhibits 7 and 8?
Any objection?
No objection.
They'll be admitted as People's Exhibits 7 and 8.
Thank you, Judge. Who was it that you mainly worked with at 9,000 Connor?
I'm sorry,
Who was it that you worked with at 9,000 Connor?
Jarvis.
I want to take you back to when you were working at Frank's with Mr. Butts. Did you ever see Mr. Butts with any children there?
Yes,
And specifically, did you see him with any young girl children?
yes,
And did you know who those were?
yes.
Who were they? Who were they?
His daughter, his niece,
Daughters and niece? What about any boys?
yes.
Okay. And who were they?
His sons,
How often would you see him with children there at Frank's?
sporadically.
And at 9,000 Connor, did you see Mr. Butts with any children then?
Yes,
Any girls?
yes.
And who would they be?
His daughter,
And what about any boys?
yes.
And who would they be?
His sons,
And how often would you see him with children at 9,000 Connor?
sporadic.
this case, it's fair to say that you spoke with Detroit police a few times?
Yes, about 4.
About 4 times? Okay. That first time that you talked to Detroit police, do you recall about when that was?
The first time was the day before Valentine's Day, so like February 13th.
February 13th, and is that of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and at that time, were you presented with a jail call?
Yes.
Okay. And who was that jail call with?
Jarvis.
Okay. And who was he talking to?
Me.
All right. And what was the topic of that jail call?
He called to ask would I receive a cell phone out of a truck for him.
And were you familiar with what truck he was asking you to get it from?
Yes.
What truck was that?
It was a Z71 Chevy Suburban.
And did you know who that truck belonged to?
Yeah, his baby mom or somebody he was dealing with.
And do you recall listening to that jail call?
Yeah, I recall.
Okay. If I would move to admit the jail call from, I believe it's February 8th, 2024, between Mr. Wright and Mr. Jarvis Butts.
Any objection?
No objection.
What's the exhibit number on that?
Sorry, that's exhibit number 1.
It'll be admitted as if it's exhibit 1.
Thank you, Judge. And may I publish?
Yes, I gave you co-hosts.
Thank you, Judge. And for the record, I am playing people's exhibit 1.
That's it.
This is a one-time free 3-minute call from an inmate at Wright County Jail. Your phone does not accept collect calls. This call has been provided by Helming as a courtesy for friends and family. You cannot receive additional calls from this inmate until you call premeditated. We can take your credit or debit card information over the phone and connect you immediately back to your call. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. Press 1 to accept all communications from this. Thank you for using Helming.
My guy, what's up, man?
Not shit, man. What's happening?
Not shit, man. How you feeling? My bad, I missed your call. I was working like a motherfucker.
I figured they said you was up there banging, said something banging.
Yeah, you know it, you know it, you know
What's
it.
up, my nigga? Who is that, Phil? What's up, boy?
You know it.
Hey, shit. Man, I'm calling, man. You busy put my money on my motherfucking books, bro.
Oh yeah, take a minute for them to put that shit on there. Even if you walk in with it, man, they be playing it crazy.
Yeah,
I swear to God. Hey, you got a machine and shit. You show you straight, you need something. I mean, I'm gonna give you a couple dollars for that, baby.
Yeah, you know, I had some money on my books, nigga. You know, I came in with money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so when they put this shit on my hookup, I was up under the tablet. I get come up $0. That's some bullshit.
That shit crazy.
Yeah.
How is it though?
Man, that's some bullshit. I'm really gonna be quarantined on this whole shit, bro.
Oh yeah, they got you on that quarantine floor for how long? 3 days?
I don't know how long, nigga. Shit, I'm about to be the only one in this bitch on my part.
You say what happened?
I said, shit, I'm about to be the remember me and young enough in this motherfucker. We want these boys up in this bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
What you need?
Huh?
No, I was asking what that customer needs. Man, listen. You straight?
Yeah.
Huh?
So yeah, I'm good, Oh shit, yeah. You got a policy number, right?
Yeah.
So, Dig, I need you to call her one day, nigga, and get that truck up there, nigga. Get my phone up there back seat, bro.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to get the truck up there. What will tell her?
Tell her you fuck around and lost your car up there, too, when we was moving the radio.
Okay.
On the seat. Now, I said it's
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
reach behind that back seat.
Yeah.
So you reach behind that back seat, bro. There's a box right there. Straight behind the middle of that back seat, bro.
Okay, under it or in the back or in the back
In
thing?
the back, right in the back of the seat, bro.
Okay.
On the second row.
I got you. You know you took the key. You took the key to the gate.
It's the same key.
I don't got that key to it.
Yeah, you do. It's the same key to the lock and the door.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, it's the same key, bro.
Now, you know I got you. I'll put the money on the phone later, man. When I get around, baby, I will put the credit card. You?
I call my wife and have her bring it up to you.
No, I don't need it, though. If you said the same one, I got it. So I don't need it right now anyway. Just when I get the scrap out of there.
Okay.
And Mr. Wright, were you successful in getting that cell phone from the vehicle like Mr. Butts asked you to?
She came up there, but no, I wasn't successful. It wasn't there.
Wasn't there? Okay.
When we say she, who you refer to?
Tasha,
And who's Taki that you know of?
his baby mom.
Okay. Did you look for it in the vehicle?
Yeah, I looked for it.
Okay. And you were unsuccessful at finding it?
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I want to talk to you now about the second time that you were speaking with Detroit police. Would it be fair to say that was just a couple days after your first time?
It was not long, a few weeks maybe. I was off tether at that point, I believe.
Okay. And do you recall talking about fixing a red Jaguar and going to Ypsilanti?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about how many times did you and Mr. Butts go to Ypsilanti?
I believe it was either 2 or 3.
Okay. All right. And tell me about how did that come about? Whose red Jaguar is this?
My son's grandma.
Your son's grandma.
So she called, said she was having some problems with it and asked if we would come look at it, which is not unusual. We do house calls depending on the person and where it's located, but this is my son's grandma, so of course we're going to make the exception. She called and said she was having problems with the car, asked if we would come look at it. Went, assessed the car at her house the first time. I think we made a minor repair there. Not to the extent that it was the problem that she was having after the fact.
Okay. So, where red Jaguar located when you guys go out to see it?
Mr. My son's grandma driveway in Ypsilanti, off Michigan Avenue, I believe.
All right. And who goes with you out there that first time?
Jarvis?
Okay. Is it just you and Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys go out there and you assess, make a minor repair.
Yeah.
Does it completely fix the car?
For that problem, yes.
Okay. And then is there another time that you end up having to do work on this red Jaguar?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
She drove the Jaguar for a while. It was doing fine. And then she said it was leaking something. I asked her what it was leaking. She said she didn't know. I asked her if she could get it towed to the shop. She said, yeah.
So that was your shop at 9000 Connor?
Yes.
Okay. And who works on it at 9000 Connor?
Me and Jarvis.
Okay. And what do you do when you finish fixing? Do you ever fixing the red Jaguar?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do when you finish fixing it?
We take it back to her. I called her first and asked her how she was planning on retrieving the vehicle. She said she was going to tow it, and I didn't want to cost her no more money, so I told her that we could bring it.
Okay. And do you recall if that was on or about January 9th of 2024?
It was on.
It was on that day?
Yes.
Okay. So on that day, before you take tell me about how that day started for you.
I woke up. I typically leave the house at 6 because that's what time I could leave. So I went to the gym. I got to the shop probably around 8:30. I don't know who opened the shop. I can't really recall which one of us opened it, but Jarvis may have been there already. A few cars came in, then the Jaguar probably got there maybe around 9 o'clock. I assessed the Jaguar. Jarvis left for a moment. I had another mechanic, being it's a foreign car, so I had a foreign car mechanic on call to help with the work, but he was busy, so he came. Said he wouldn't have time to do it, so I think I Googled it, seen how it was done, and I proceeded taking the water pump off.
Okay. About that work that day?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. What do you guys, being you and Mr. Butts, do as it relates to work that night?
I think we had a few cars that came in that needed some minor repairs. Between that and the Jaguar, we was jumping in and out of the Jaguar job, and the cars that pulled up, maybe oil change, tune up, whatever, et cetera, so forth was. But we was mainly working on the Jaguar, trying to get the water pump off, as it is a hard job to do.
Okay. And do you always have all of your parts on stock or on your person in stock with you?
No, we call either AutoZone, Mansfield, or the auto stores to have them.
Okay. And did you have to go get any auto parts on January 9th?
Yes, we had to go get the water pump for the Jaguar, as well as some other parts, I believe, for other cars.
Okay. And when you go and get parts, is it usually just one of you, both of you, or something else?
That depending. If it's a car there, then one of us will stay. If it's not a car there, we can go together sometimes.
Okay. And on January 9th of 2024, did you guys, did one of you guys go to the auto parts store, or did you both go?
We both went.
Both went? Okay. Tell me what happens when you go to the auto parts store.
Before that, I called them. They ordered the water pump, so we went and picked it up when they called and said it was in. We got in the truck, went to AutoZone, got the water pump. On our way back from AutoZone, I believe we forgot something, so we ended up turning back around, going back to AutoZone, grabbed whatever we forgot, came back, and on our way back, we was coming down Harbor. Jarvis said, "I see my niece right there. She walking." We pulled into Angel's liquor store. I still didn't see her. He pointed across my face, said she right there. She was coming across the street at that time. She got in the truck with us. She spoke, "Hi King, hi Jay," and we proceeded back to the shop.
Okay. So when you guys are driving to these auto parts stores, who's driving?
Jarvis,
Okay. And where?
passenger seat.
Okay. And you said when you guys are heading back to the shop the second time, that's when you said Jarvis spots someone?
Yes.
Who does he say that he spots?
His niece.
His niece, okay. And do you recognize his niece?
Yes, when I see her, when he pointed her out to me, yes, I recognize her walking across the street.
Okay. And so you guys pull over. Where's she get into the car at?
I believe she getting behind me, so the back seat behind me.
Okay. Does Jarvis say anything to her?
Yeah, she speaks to both of us, and we speak back.
Okay. What does he say to her?
Hi.
Hi. And where do you guys go after you pick up his niece?
Back to the shop.
Okay, and that's at 9,000 Connor?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you guys do when you get back to 9,000 Connor?
He back in. We get out. We proceed to working on the Jaguar. I may have got out the car first with the parts, and he was in the car with her for a second. I got out, started working on the Jaguar.
And does what happens next? What do you guys do?
I believe she get out, get into the front seat, reposition herself to the front seat of his truck. It was colder that day. I believe she started the truck. We started working on the Jaguar, putting the parts back on. It took a little minute. Like I said, it was a difficult job, so it took a while. At some point, I believe his truck ran out of gas, so we had to stop what we were doing to push his truck to the gas pump so he could get some gas.
So you said that she gets out of the car that you guys were in?
Yes. No, we was always in Jarvis' truck.
Okay.
So she gets out the back seat and repositions herself to the front seat,
Okay.
so she can start the cover.
And tell me, what kind of car or what kind of truck does Jarvis drive?
Escalade.
Okay. And what color?
It's pearl white.
Okay. What, if you can see, what is his niece doing while you guys are working on the shop, at the shop?
I believe she's on her cell phone, I believe.
Does Jarvis ever take his niece anywhere that, like, while you guys are working at the shop?
No.
No? Okay. Did you ask him if he was going to take her home at all?
I believe I asked him was he gonna drop her off when the truck ran out of gas. We had to push it to the pump. It was just a distraction from work, so I asked was he gonna drop her off. He said no.
And did you finish working on the Jaguar that day?
Yes.
And what happens after you finish up on the Jaguar?
I called my son grandma and asked her how she was gonna retrieve the vehicle. She said she was gonna tow it. I told her she didn't have to do that. That was just spending extra money. So I asked Jarvis, was it all right if we dropped it off? He said yes. And we started making preparations to do so.
Do you recall you guys finished the Jaguar and prepared to leave?
Right around 7:30 or somewhere around there.
When do you guys eventually leave the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about who all leaves the shop?
Me, Jarvis, and his niece.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements.
Drove my 300 and Jarvis drove the Jaguar.
And where was his niece at?
She was with him in the front seat of the Jaguar.
Now, are you able to recall what his niece looked like that day?
Yes. Faintly, but yes.
Do you remember what kind of clothing she was wearing?
I remember she had her jacket on. Like I said, a coat. It was cold, so I think it was colorful.
Colorful?
Yeah.
May I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Wright, I'm approaching you with People's Proposed Exhibit 2. And I'm going to direct you to the top left corner. Can you tell me, is there anything that you recognize in that?
The jacket in Channel 1.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you've seen his niece, Jarvis's niece, wearing that day?
Yes.
And I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
Any objection? Objection. Will be admitted as People's Exhibit 2.
Thank you. Your man approach. And I'm showing you its marked Appeals Proposed Exhibit 3. Do you recognize what I just handed you?
Yes.
Thanks. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of Jarvis's niece as you remember? 2024.
Yes.
Okay, and is that the same niece that went with you to Ypsilanti?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and you're moving for the admission of people's proposed exhibit 3?
No objection. Okay, it'll be admitted as people in exhibit 3.
Thank you. So, you guys are driving to Ypsilanti. You said you're driving in your 300, and Jarvis is driving the Jaguar with his niece.
Yes.
Okay. About how long did it take you guys to get to Ypsilanti?
It was raining that day, so about.
And when you get to Ypsilanti, what do you do?
We get out, we park the car, get out, we go in. My son's grandma and I believe his auntie was there as well, so they greeted us. They'd spoken to him before, so they greet him. And then my son's grandma asked who the little girl was.
And did you introduce the little girl?
No,
Okay. Who introduced the little girl?
Jarvis did.
And what did Jarvis introduce her as?
His niece.
And about how long do you guys stay in Ypsilanti?
Not long, maybe 15 minutes or so. My son, auntie had to go get the rest of our money that my grandma didn't have, so she went to the ATM.
What do you guys do when you went to the ATM?
Talking. Talking. She was just telling us about other work she needed to get around her house, etc., so on and so forth.
Okay. And was Mr. Butts with you the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. So, you guys eventually leave Ypsilanti?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements leaving Ypsilanti.
Which is mine. We get in. Jarvis in the front. I believe Naziah sat behind me.
Is that behind you?
Yes.
Okay. So, and is there any kind of talking or conversation when you guys are driving?
No, I got sounds in my car, so no.
And do you recall about what time you guys, I guess, where do you guys go when you leave Ypsilanti?
Back to 9,000 Connors.
Do you recall about what time you guys get back to 9,000 Connors?
Probably around 8:45. I was cutting close on the tether.
What do you do when you get back to 9,000 Connors?
Opened up the shop door where he left his truck in one of the bays, so we opened up that bay door, went through the gas station, because that's the way we entered the shop, went through the gas station, opened the shop, opened one of the bay doors. I went to the back and started splitting the money that we had made for the day, and separating the receipts. Getting this truck.
Do you recall where at this truck she got into?
Passenger seat.
Is that front passenger, back passenger, or something else?
Front passenger.
And where's your bus at?
Back in the back with me, separating the cash.
And when you leave the shop,
No, I left first.
you left first. Okay. So when you leave, who's still at the shop?
Jarvis and me.
Do you see them leave the shop at all?
No.
And have you seen Jarvis's niece, the one that was with you on the 9th? Have you seen her since January 9th, 2024?
No.
Now I want to talk about the day after that you guys went to FC, so January 10th. Do you recall if Mr. Butts was at work that day?
I don't think he was.
What makes you think that he wasn't?
3 times, 4 times. No reason for him to call me if he was standing right next.
Judge, I don't think he's speculating, going off what he believes.
Can you ask the question? Re-ask the question.
Yes. So you said that you don't believe he was at work because he would call you, or he called you so often?
He called me. We had a 30-minute conversation on one account, and then we had another conversation about 15 minutes. So
Okay. So that makes you believe in your mind that he was actually on the field?
What's the question first?
He was asking, based on those conversations, that Mr. Butts was not at the shop with him. I don't think that's leading.
It's stating a conclusion.
He said he already stated that he wasn't at the shop. Reading to him. So I'll overrule.
You can.
one more time.
So based on the length of those phone calls and the times of them, did that make you believe that Mr. Butts was not at the shop?
Right.
Did Jarvis Butts ever mention to you about his niece being missing?
No.
Have you talked to Mr. Butts aside from the call that we played since turning himself in?
No.
And do you know someone, do you know any of Jarvis's siblings?
Yes.
And which sibling do you?
I met his brother and I met his sister.
Okay. You talked to his sister. Well, start that. Would his sister ever come to the shop?
Sporadically.
Okay. And are there times that you talk to her?
Yes.
Okay. And had you talked to her about Jarvis's niece being missing?
After the police questioned me, I believe she came up there and we.
And Mr. Wright, I'd asked you earlier about if you'd seen Mr. Butts in the courtroom, so that you couldn't see him. Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
And I'm showing you People's Proposed Exhibit 9. Can you tell me if you recognize that photo?
Yes.
And who is it in that photo?
Jarvis.
Okay. Next, Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
Okay, exhibit as People's Exhibit 9.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, I kind of want to direct your attention back to People's Proposed Exhibit 3. People's Exhibit 3, I'm sorry. And can you see it from here where I'm holding it?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know who this person in this photo is now?
Yes.
Okay. And who do you know her as now? I see Jarvis Butts after January 9th, 2024. Do you see any injuries on him?
No, I don't believe I see any injuries.
Really further, Judge.
Okay, Ross? Thank you.
Good morning.
You said that, I believe, in your testimony that you have known Butts since about 2018, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said you met at Frank's, the shop that you worked at.
That's correct.
And you said you guys worked together at Frank's for about 2 years?
That's correct.
And so that means in about 2020, you opened up the shop in Connor? Is that?
No, in 2021, I went to.
And so you came back
I came back to the same thing.
at Frank's?
Yes.
And then what year was that?
That was 2023.
Okay. And so then how long after you came back were you, the two of you at Frank's together?
Maybe a few months to maybe like the middle of the year. So maybe around either around April. It was still a little cold outside.
Okay. So like early spring.
Yeah.
You think that you opened up the shop at 9?
Yes, it could have been earlier than that, but yes, around.
Business partners?
Yes.
50-50 business partners?
Yes.
Okay. You can also consider Mr. Butts a friend at that point?
Yes.
As far as the business arrangement, you said it was a 50 split. Did you split it every day at the end of the day? Or?
Every day at the end of the day.
Now back around the beginning of 2024, maybe end of 2023, were you seeing a woman in Clinton Township?
A woman in Clinton Township?
Yes. A friend of a woman named Shannon Harris?
In 24?
Yes.
No.
Or ever?
Yes.
When were you seeing her?
Probably was 2000 and maybe 19 or 20.
So before you went?
Before I went to prison.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Butts ever have a falling out about that?
No.
Now you and Mr. Butts, did you talk about your personal lives?
Sometimes, yes.
You spent good days at work together, right?
Right.
So presumably it came up.
Of course.
Talk about girlfriends.
Of course.
Did women often come to the shop looking for Mr. Butts?
Right.
Did he talk to you about the very women that he would be seeing or juggling, maybe?
That happened.
Okay. Did it sometimes cause drama at the shop?
It happened.
Women would come up and confront Mr. Butts,
It happens.
maybe about other women that he was seeing?
It happens.
Did you ever feel like that was affecting the business?
No, thanks.
What about at the business that you owned in Connor?
It didn't happen as much there.
Didn't have as much in Connor?
Right.
Sometime, I guess, the two of you were working together. You had a friend that was, I guess, talking to or trying to date one of Mr. Butts' daughters. Is that correct?
That happened.
The daughter was 21, 22.
She was somewhere around, not 100% certain, but yeah, around that age, 20, 21, 22.
And that caused an issue for Mr. Butts.
It did.
He got pretty upset with his friend.
It did. I was in prison at the time, so yes, I was involved directly.
Okay. Did you ever hear about an altercation that happened between the two of them?
Some kind of altercation did occur, yes.
impression that Mr. Butts was pretty protective of her.
Yeah.
Do you know how many children Mr. Butts has?
13?
And you said that some of them would come to the shop.
Yes, they have.
But at the shop on Connor, you said his sons would come.
His son will come sometimes and stay today with us.
His daughter.
She'll come sometimes and stay today with us.
And what's her name? Do you recall?
No, I don't want to misname it.
Okay.
I think it's someone with a J or something like that, though. I'm not 100% certain.
Was she like a teenager?
He had. She come up there sometime, but not really. Little was one at 9, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then his niece would also come?
Yes.
Would she come typically with?
When I first met her, yes, that's how I with his daughter. She would always come with his daughter. They would come up there sometimes to get air in their tires. Maybe money, you know, just typical kid stuff.
Did he ever, or did the two of you ever have them like doing chores around the shop?
Sometimes.
Did Mr. Butts talk to you about his children?
Yes.
Did you talk about spending time with them?
Yes, I believe he lived with the majority of them.
And you said that you mentioned Tasha. She's one of the mothers of some of his children,
Yes.
correct?
No, I don't believe so.
Now, you said, I believe in your testimony, that you had been to Ypsilanti twice with Mr. Butts. Is that?
Or 3 times, one of the. Yes.
It possibly could have been 3.
It could have possibly been 3. I'm not 100% certain.
Okay. Now, one of the his niece was, you said, on January the 9th.
First time I seen her by herself, yes.
That's because you have a picture up on Harper.
Yes.
Did Mr. Butts seem surprised that he saw her?
I'm not sure. I couldn't really, you know, I wasn't really paying attention to his expression. He just pointed to me.
And at that time, you only knew her as his niece?
Yes.
You didn't have any idea what her name was at that time?
No.
And in fact, the reason you learned her name was when you identified that picture that was just shown to you, and the police told you what her name was. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
With Mr. Butts and his niece, did you see any inappropriate behavior or anything that made you raise your eyebrows between the two of them?
No.
What about any of the other times that his niece would have been there at the shop? Did you ever behavior that made you question thought was
I
inappropriate?
say I have.
Now, the 3 of you rode back from Ypsilanti on January 9th. That was your testimony, right?
Yes.
Was there any conversation between Mr. Butts and his niece in the car?
There was no conversation between really nobody. I had the music on.
And I'm going to back up to earlier in the day when the 3 of you came to the shop the first time after you picked her up from on Harper.
Okay.
You said that she pretty much stayed in Mr. Butts' car the whole time.
Yes.
She said she was on her phone.
Yes.
Did you ever leave the shop at all after that before you guys went to Ypsilanti?
Maybe in the.
Not really, just the attached gas station.
Yeah, maybe to the gas station. I'm not sure if I actually physically left the building. I'm not sure.
Would it have been for more than like 5 or 10 minutes?
Use the bathroom, so maybe 10 minutes tops if I had to leave.
You never went out to grab parts at any place that you can recall?
Not that I can recall.
Now, after January 9th, what was the next time you said that you saw Mr. Butts? was not at work on the 10th?
No,
Do you recall?
I'm never on time.
What time did you come in on the 10th?
Probably about 8:40. I go to the gym, so we open at 8, but I'm never there at 8, so I probably got there maybe 8:49.
Are you the one that opened the shop?
Yes.
Now, you were aware at that time that Mr. Butts was supposed to turn himself in and serve a jail sentence of William County Jail. That's correct?
Yes, I am.
You had to leave the business for a while?
Correct.
Okay. And you actually went to the courthouse on the day he turned himself in to support him? Right?
Yes, I was there.
And he was going to be serving time,
That's correct.
if you know.
That's correct.
Okay. And because you were kind of paying attention to what was happening, you understood that the court date had gotten changed a few times?
Yeah, he told me that it had changed. So I believe he's supposed to get sentenced on the 9th, but I learned that through him. I didn't go to court with him that time, but just when he got sentenced, I went to court with him that time.
Are you familiar with any court dates that he had out in Clinton Township around that time?
He did say he had something going on with his daughter, I believe. I believe it was domestic with his daughter of some sort. So yeah, I was familiar with that, I believe.
Or was he going to court for that? No, you got involved because at some point you became aware that the Detroit police wanted to talk to you. Okay, they actually took you down.
To headquarters.
Okay, and that was the first time on February 13th, is that right?
That was February.
With them again a couple days later.
Yes, I was believe the first time I spoke with him, I was still on tether, so it had to be sometime after I was yeah.
And then you spoke with them again in March, right?
Yes. No, all of our conversations was via person.
And then a couple weeks ago, did you also?
Yes.
And the prosecutors?
I don't know if the prosecutor, but yes, I believe she was there.
As far as you can remember?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in February, when you were talking to the police, by that time, had you seen anything on the news or on social media about who you later learned was Mr. Butts? You were interviewed by the police, you didn't know anything about. And at the time that you were talking to the police, while you were on tether, and
Yes, that's correct.
okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you had about 3 weeks left on parole at that point.
Not 3 weeks in February?
Yes.
I had 3 weeks left on tether. I got off actual parole in May.
Okay. So the tether was coming off, but you were still going to have to report.
3 more months
Okay.
after the.
And in February, I believe it was the second conversation that you had with the detective, presumably, you and the officer or the detective spoke about the tether, right? Do you recall that?
I believe so, yes.
Because you were concerned every time you would go somewhere, if you would be late, you were very
Oh, yeah,
about
yes.
being home on time.
Right.
And in fact, he actually said, hey, we'll take care of you if anything pops up, right?
He said, I talked to your PO, so you're fine.
Okay. And he also kind of warned you that you didn't want to get somebody upset about the way you were answering his questions and have somebody feel some kind of way about you. Do you recall him saying that to you?
This is the first conversation or the second you asked
The
about?
second. Right at the top of the conversation.
I can't really recall every word. I know we was agitated. I was a little agitated. It was a lot going on, so maybe
It's possible that that conversation
it's possible.
Did you understand any of his statements while you were talking to him to me that the police wanted you to give answers, and if you didn't answer, that they could mess with your parole or your tether status?
False speculation, Judge.
It goes to his state of mind.
But he doesn't know what
It's what he believes might happen and could impact what he said.
Speculation, as far as what they actually asked.
Was it your understanding that if you didn't give certain answers, that the police might have their status? Was that a concern of yours?
Really, you know what I mean, concerned about how he placed his questions upon me, no. So, I mean, more of the concern was my being picked up by the police. Police contact is a violation of parole within itself, so I was violated for the police contact regardless to whatever he was saying. You get what I mean? So, it impacted anything at all, actually.
But your parole wasn't actually revoked, right?
No.
Now, we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago. Mr. Butts was juggling a few different women during the time you knew him.
Yes.
And it's hard to keep up with all his baby mamas.
I mean, it wasn't my job, so yeah.
And babies that weren't mamas.
Right.
Did you get the impression from Mr. Butts that he didn't want these women to know about each other?
Of course.
My name Tasha was one of Mr. Butts' ladies.
Yes.
And that was one of his baby mamas.
Yes. To my belief, yeah.
So there was some discussion about a phone call. Butts, while he was at the jail, about his phone, right? And after that conversation, Tasha actually came into the shop to get some work done on the car.
Yes, he came to get a oil change in the headlight.
And that's when you went and kind of looked for the phone.
Yes.
Now, you didn't really want Tasha to know that you were looking for the phone, right?
Of course not.
And the reason for that was?
She's gonna wonder why I'm looking for a phone.
And was it your impression that Mr. Butts was afraid it would reveal that he was talking to other women?
Of course.
And so you're trying to help him keep peace?
Of course.
Yes. I think the testimony was on the 9th, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an issue during the day, Mr. had his escalator there, is that correct?
Yes.
And he had run out of gas.
Yes.
And he had to get gas. You pushed him to the, or helped push the escalator to a gas pump.
Yes.
Do you recall leaving with him that night and going and getting gas together?
For his truck, or what we saying? Or for like a gas can? What do you?
Well, either one. Did you all leave the shop, and perhaps you in your vehicle and he in his vehicle, and at a gas station
No.
on the night?
No.
You don't have any recollection of that?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Okay.
Mr. Wright, you were testifying.
Thank you.
Okay. As we discussed in our last hearing, we are only hearing one witness today in this case, correct?
That is correct.
That's correct, I guess.
We have an agreed upon date starting. I have blocked out January 6th, 7th, and 8th, as the people have, is it correct, 41 more witnesses?
Roughly, yeah.
Possibly. Okay. Anything else that we discuss on this matter before we start for next week?
Not on this issue.
Okay, we are off the record. And I will allow for 15-minute breaks, so everyone can use the restroom, get some water, come back for the next case.
Doesn't need
Okay.
Also on behalf of Mr.
Raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Watch your step, walking up the stairs here.
Speak clearly in the mic. You can pick it up and put it in your lap too if you like.
Okay, thank you.
state your name for the record?
And then him,
Do you know someone, or did you know someone by the name of Neziah Harris?
yes,
And who is Neziah to you?
my granddaughter.
Are you her legal guardian?
Yes, I am.
When did you become her legal guardian?
I had done Isaiah back in 2016.
And that was filed and all that to legally adopt her?
Yes, it took a process.
Oh.
Yes.
And of 2024, did Neziah live with you?
Yes.
I don't want to know the specific address, but what street? Wayne County?
Yes, it is.
How long had Neziah been living with you at that address in Bedford?
Oh, wow. Basically, I mean, ever since I had her. I mean,
Since 2016?
well, we moved to another house.
Okay, when did you move into the Bedford house?
Let me see. 2019, we moved in that house and then moved in the house that I am now, which is still on Bedford.
Okay. And did Neziah make those moves with you?
Yes.
And in January of 2024, at that Bedford location, who else lived there?
Just me, the kids. My other daughter lived with me at the other address. But it was just basically me and my kids and Shannon.
And who is Shannon?
My daughter,
And what's her last name?
Harris,
And she lived with you and Neziah and the other kids at the Bedford location?
at the first Bedford location.
That first Bedford location, how many other kids in Neziah lived there?
My other two, my grandson and my other grandchildren.
Okay. So how many kids total in that house?
Let's see. 6. Should have been 6.
And you and Shannon, correct?
Well,
Living there.
Shannon, she was there, but she wasn't really like there all the time.
Okay.
She would spend most majority of her time at my house, but actually Shannon had her place out in Clinton Township.
And when you were in January of 24, how old was Neziah at that time?
January 24th, she had 13. She had a birthday in September.
And was she going to school?
Yes, she was.
What school did she attend?
J.E. Clark Preparatory Academy.
And is that also in Detroit?
Yes, it is.
Just generally, can you tell us about your morning routine with the kids, specifically Neziah, about getting them to school and things like that?
Sure. Okay. 6 a.m. That's when I get the children. They usually get up, get dressed, prepare themselves. About 7:20, we're basically saying prayer and we're loading up in the car. I'm dropping them off at school at 7:30. Breakfast starts at 7:30 and they like to eat breakfast at school.
And does that include Neziah? You would drop her off at J.E. Clark?
All together, yes.
Now, I want to talk about, let me ask it this way. Did you know someone by the name of Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
And do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today?
I don't see them.
Do you need glasses, ma'am?
Yeah, my
Okay,
daughter has my glasses.
Okay, Judge, may I take a moment to go get her glasses?
Yeah.
May I approach? And you could just stand up and take another look around.
Okay. Yes.
Do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you
Yes.
point to him and identify a piece of clothing that he's wearing?
Green uniform with the blue mask.
For the record, the witness has identified Jarvis Butts, the defendant in this matter.
So reflected?
And may I approach the witness again, Judge?
Yes.
And Ms. Harris, do you recognize the person in that photo?
Yes.
And who is that person?
Jarvis Butts.
And is that the same person you've identified in court here today?
Yes.
And Ms. Harris, how did you know Mr. Butts back in January of 2024?
He's the father of my daughter's children.
And is that daughter Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. How many kids do they have together?
5.
And would he come around your house on Bedford in January or the month?
Whenever he did pull up in a white truck, and Shannon would go out to the car, and they would sit and talk or whatever, but he would very rarely come in my house.
And during that time when he would come around and sit in his car, was there any times that he would with Messiah that you saw?
Not that I remember, no.
Okay. Now I want to talk specifically about January 9th. You had described your morning routine with the kids. Did you follow that routine on January 9th?
Yes, I did.
And did that include dropping Messiah off at J.E. Clark 7:15 to 7:30?
Yes.
And can you tell us what she was wearing on January 9th, 2024?
Yes, she was wearing a pair of light powdered blue jeans with a light powdered blue jacket that had the collar. It was like a 2-piece set.
And did she have a sweater on or a shirt on or something?
She had a shirt underneath.
Did she have any other clothes with her on the 9th when you dropped her off?
She had her little blue sweatshirt with the little hoodie. She had that with her.
And do you know how or when she got that hoodie?
I bought that hoodie for her. I guess it was in the fall sometime when I bought it. I mean, it wasn't nothing new. It was just one of her old jackets she used when she go to gym.
Okay. And in terms of, if you know, the condition of that hoodie on the 9th, was it torn, ripped, damaged in any way?
No,
Okay.
it was fairly, really, like, kind of like still new. Take care of her things.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
I'm approaching with People's Proposed Exhibit 12. Ms. Harris, do you recognize what I just handed you?
Yes.
And is that a picture of Messiah?
Yes.
And do you know when that picture was taken?
January the 9th, she took this picture.
People's
Any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 12.
And when you dropped Messiah off at J.E. Clark, what was the routine supposed to be after school was over?
Okay, well, when school is over, the bell rings at 2:40. Nazir was due to come home. And normally when the bell rings, 2:40, 2:45, she's getting on the bus.
And that's what she normally did on other days?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry,
And
yes.
what time would she normally arrive back at home?
The Nazir would be walking in through the door maybe 3:05, no later than that.
And on January 9th, did she walk?
She did not.
And were you home when she didn't come home?
I was there for a little while, but I left out to run some errands. But no, when I got to the house, she was not there.
And at that time, did you have a conversation with someone else about her not coming home, Desire not coming home?
Yeah, when I picked my children up from the after-school program, I went in and my daughter said,
I'll rephrase the question.
Okay, sustain.
Just talking about what you saw and heard. But did you talk to Shannon, your daughter?
yes,
about
Shannon said she was not there.
When you got home that day on the 9th, was Naziah there?
No.
And did you eventually make a police report about her missing?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
And when did you do that?
that morning when I got to school, I went up. And I told them that I was on my way to the police station, and they told me that they called the police, and the police, DPS police, came there.
And you said DPS, is that public schools?
Yeah,
And did you talk to an officer at that time at the school?
yes, I did.
And was that at J.E. Clark physically at that location?
Yeah. Yes.
Was Naziah active on social media?
I know she was, I mean, there were times that she would sneak and go on it, you know, but yeah, she was.
Okay. And did you keep track of her social media pages like TikTok or Facebook or anything like that?
I tried, a lot of times, you know, I would take her phone and stuff from her, you know, so, you know, to keep her from being on me.
And after the 9th, did you ever see any posts made by Naziah?
I didn't see any posts. Most of the time, or something, or she posts, my daughter or someone would call me and tell me.
Oh. Have you ever heard after the 9th, ever heard any communication or seen Naziah? When, is that a no?
No.
And when you dropped her off on the 9th at school at J.E. Clark, was that the last time you saw her?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Trish?
Yes.
Just to follow up, I did forget to ask this. Her bus stop, how far from your house was that in walking distance? And do you know where the location that she got dropped off at was, the address or the intersection?
Right there at 3 Mile Drive in Cornwall.
And that's 5 minutes from your house?
Yeah.
And did Naziah have any nicknames that people called her?
Well, her family called her Tuda, but I've always called her Glamorous. I've been calling her that ever since she was born.
Is it Glamour?
Glamorous.
Oh. May I have one more, Trish?
Yes. You said Tuda?
Tuda.
Tuda.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing further, Trish. Thank you.
Okay, Russ.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning.
Now, you are Naziah's maternal grandmother, correct?
Correct.
You're also her adopted parent, correct?
Correct.
And you said you adopted her in 2016?
Yeah. Should have been, yeah, 16.
Okay. Your birth mother is still around?
She is.
Okay. Does she have a relationship with her?
No.
She doesn't have any type of relationship, no contact with her that you know of?
Well, let me say this. I don't deal with my daughter, so she really didn't have really no contact with Naziah like that. She only came around now and then.
Okay.
Yes.
And in fact, I think you testified you lived on 2 houses on Bedford Street.
Correct.
And did not Naziah have friends on Bedford Street that you were aware of?
Her friends didn't live on Bedford.
Okay. Do you know if you ever had any friends over?
No,
Did she ever spend the night at any of these friends' houses?
no,
Okay. And at your prior neighborhood, did she have friends that she may have spent the night over?
no.
Okay. You indicated that approximately 6 children in the house?
Well, not now. When he asked me about the address,
Yes.
I lived at 2 houses, which is on the same street of Bedford.
Okay.
Okay, so the house that we lived in before, it was my children and my daughter's children.
Your daughter being Shannon?
No, Marquita.
Marquita,
Mhm.
okay. And did Naziah have any close relationship with any of these children particularly?
She was close with my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, yeah.
Which granddaughter is that?
Naziah. I mean, Janiyah.
Okay.
All of their names are similar.
And Janiyah is Shannon's daughter?
Yes,
That would be Jarvis's daughter as well, correct?
correct.
And at your Bedford Street address, how many adults live there?
Just me and Shannon.
Okay. When did Shannon move in?
I'm sorry.
When did Shannon move in to Bedford?
Oh, I guess back in October, last October or something.
That would be October of '23?
Yeah,
Okay. So in January of '24, she was there, correct?
mm-hmm.
Sorry, is that a yes? or no?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you indicated that Naziah participated in social media?
She did participate in social media. She was on social media a lot of times when she wasn't supposed to be.
Okay. So, did you see her post, or did you follow her post?
I didn't see her really posting anything. I mean, at times when I did check, I didn't find anything.
Okay.
And most of the time, if she did post something, my daughter's name would, let me know, if she posted something. But
So you don't know who her social media friends were?
the only person that I know that was one of her classmates, that she would post little things with one of her little classmates.
Okay.
Yeah, well, something.
Now, you indicated that you drove Naziah to school every day, correct?
Correct.
Who else went to school with Naziah?
My other 2 children, Shannon's children.
Okay. And what type of student was Naziah?
Naziah was a very good student, very manageable, very outgoing. She got grades. Her attendance was good. The teachers had no problem with her. They really liked Naziah. Naziah got along with just about anybody.
Okay.
She was very likable.
Did she have any disciplinary problems?
No,
Do you recall her ever getting into a fight?
she did.
One fight, more than one fight?
There was a young lady that she had a couple of, consultations with in school. And it was like an ongoing situation.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure when it started, but it was like off and on, you know, with this particular schoolmate that she had.
And this is for her current school, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, did Naziah participate in any extracurricular activities? Was she on band or anything?
She liked it, gym, robotics, art. I mean, she liked a lot of things that she was, you know, involved in, you know.
And within the
The only time she stayed after school was when she wanted to be enrolled in the after-school program.
Just one. I just want to step back a moment. You said there were some things that you weren't aware of. Once, correct? Did you ever check her direct messages?
Like I said, I did, but when I did, there was nothing on there.
There was nothing?
No.
Okay. Did you monitor any of her conversations?
Yeah, I would, you know, go check, you know.
Okay.
But like I said, a lot of times, you know, Naziah's tablet, you know, from her at one point, you know. So there was really nothing that I knew of that she was on unless she got somebody's cell phone or something, you know.
Okay. So you did mention that she had a tablet. How many devices did she have that allowed her to connect to social media?
She only had that one tablet that I had bought her.
Okay.
And like I said, I took that tablet and put that tablet up.
So on January 9th, you took her to school, correct?
Correct.
And you said it was her and two of your other children that went to school?
My two other children and my daughter's children. I dropped them all off.
And you said that you noticed that she did not come home at her normal time?
Correct.
All right. You did not call the police then, correct?
No. Driving around looking for her. My daughter reached out to some of her classmates. I did nothing. And that morning, I got up, and like I said, I went straight to the school, and from there I was on my way to the police station to make the report, and they called the police from there. DPS police came to the school.
So the first report you made to the police was the next morning?
Yes.
Do you know approximately what time?
School starts at 7:30, so I got there at 7:30. They got there about, I don't know, maybe 8.
So you didn't go to the precinct, you went to the school, and the school called the police?
Yes, they called the police because I was getting ready to leave, and the dean said, no, stay here. She said, and we'll call the police.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you are familiar with Mr. Butts, correct?
I know Mr. Butts.
Okay. And he dated your daughter, Shannon, correct?
Correct.
They did have 5 children, correct?
Correct.
And the children, did all the children stay with you and Shannon?
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to give too much detail on the kids. What were the mix of the kids, boys and girls?
Can you repeat that?
What were the mix of the kids, boys and girls?
Well, I have a boy and girl, and you know, Shannon has her 3 boys and her 2 girls.
So she had 3 boys and the 2 girls. Okay. And at any time, now, I think you did indicate that Mr. Butts would come over and I think you said he would rarely come in, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But he would come in on occasion, correct?
Not really on occasions, because most of the time when he came in, he would pull up in my driveway and my daughter would go out to the truck, and a lot of times the kids would go out to the truck. So it was very rare if he ever came in my house.
Okay. And you indicated that you were close with Neziah?
Yes.
Can you think of any reason that Neziah would not share information with you?
No. Neziah would come to me and talk to me all the time.
Okay.
If something was bothering her, or if she had a bad day in school, she'll come to me and we'll sit and talk about it. I always kept the door open for communication with Neziah. She always felt free, to come to me and sit down and talk to me about whatever.
So if something was frustrating Neziah, she would come with you?
She would, that I know of, yes.
All right, if something was scaring Neziah, she would come to you?
If something was bothering her or she was frustrated about something, she'll come to me and say, "Hey, Nana, can I talk to you?"
If there was any medical condition, she would come to you regarding that?
I believe she would, yes.
And you take her to the hospital, take her to the doctor?
Yes.
Okay. Just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Can you redirect?
Ms. Harris, I just have a couple more questions for you. When Mr. Riggins was asking you questions, you said that Mr. Butts would come and sit in his car, right, outside your house?
Yes.
And he said that the kids would go out to the car.
Yes.
Which kids would go out to the car?
His kids.
Would Neziah ever go with his kids out to the car?
If Shannon was out there, she would.
Oh. And Mr. Riggins also asked you about the tablet that you bought for Neziah. Do you
Yes.
remember those questions?
Yes.
And when, if you can remember, narrow that down, when did you buy that tablet for her?
I bought that tablet for her one Christmas. I think it was in 22 when I bought that tablet, at the end of 22 when I bought that tablet for her.
So December of 22?
Yeah, I think that when I bought that tablet.
So she would have had that tablet for roughly just over a year then, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And did Neziah also have access to a cell phone?
The only cell phone she had access to was one of the cell phones when my oldest daughter came to visit me. She gave to Neziah, but she could only use it by Wi-Fi.
You said your oldest daughter, is that Neziah's biological mother?
Yes.
Okay. And through, what's your oldest daughter's name?
Kenyatta Harris.
Through Kenyatta Harris, Neziah got access to a phone?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Mr. Riggins also asked you about Neziah staying after school. You said that there was an after-school program she on January 9th and in January of 24, was she still involved in that program?
No, I took her out of it because she was having problems with one of her schoolmates at that time. The same person that he asked me about before that she didn't get along with.
The same person Mr. Riggins asked you about?
Absolutely.
And so on the 9th, she was not supposed to stay after school?
No, she was supposed to come straight home.
And when she didn't come home, you said that you were driving around looking for her, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what efforts you made on the 9th to locate her?
When I went to the school to go pick my son and daughter up because they were also in the after school program, picked them up, went back to the house. I thought she was there, and when I got to the house and I found out that she wasn't there, I got back in the car and I went back up to the school. And by that time, nobody was there. Nobody was at the school. So now, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm frustrated. Now I'm going like, you know, because whenever she wants to stay after school or do something, she would always call me. Well, hey, Nana, can I stay after school? Or she would call one of her TTs, hey, TT, can I stay after school? So that wasn't like her. So I'm really frustrated now. So now I go back to the house and I'm talking to my daughter, Shannon.
And I want to stop you right there because I don't want to go into what anybody else said.
Okay.
But you went back to the school. Nobody was at the school. You went back to the house. Nazia's still not there, correct?
Correct.
Did you go back out looking for her after that?
I did.
Okay. Where did you go looking?
I was driving around in the neighborhood, everywhere. I'm just looking, just like hoping I'll see her, you know?
We have one more, Joe? On the 9th, when you were looking for her, well, let me ask it this way. Did you know Nazia to go to Mr. Butts' place of work to assist him with anything there?
Yes, there was a couple of times that she went with his daughter and they went up there to go clean up at his shop.
And how would they get there, if you remember?
He would come and pick them up.
And was that in that white truck that you talked about earlier?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And did you yourself know where Mr. Butts worked at?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you know, where is that?
It was Frank's shop located on Warren, East Warren.
And is that the last place that you knew him to work? Or did you know him to work somewhere else?
I knew him to work there, and then the shop moved to a different location.
Did you know where that new location was?
Personally, no.
Okay. And did you ever, on the 9th, did you ever try and go to Mr. Butts' place of work to look for Nazia?
On the 9th, no.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Harris, we're done testifying. Watch your step, please exit the box.
Okay, fine.
Judge, first I would like to move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibits 15 and 16 pursuant to MRE 8036. They are certified records of text-style messages. Exhibit 15 is messages from September 24th, 2022 through November 7th of 2022. And Exhibit 16 is messages from March 4th, 2023 through January 9th of 2024.
Any objection?
No objection for exam purposes, pending analysis under 403, assuming that they're relevant.
Okay, it'll be a minute. That's People's Exhibit 15 and 16, you said?
Yes, Judge. And at this time, people would call Shannon Harris.
Welcome to the court. Sit down and still state your name for the record.
For you?
Yeah, right here.
First name, Shannon, H-A-N-N-E-N.
right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Watch your step, please. Have a seat.
You want to speak into this mic, you can also pick it up and hold it in your lap.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Ripley.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Could you please state your name for the record?
Shannon Harris,
And Ms. Harris, how old are you?
31.
And back on January, or in January 2024, where did you live?
But my mom resides with my mother,
With your mother? Okay, who's your mom?
Annette Harris,
And without telling me the exact address, what street did you live on?
Bedford.
And do you have any children?
Yes,
How many kids do you have?
5.
And do all your kids have the same dad?
Yes,
Who's their dad?
Jarvis Butts.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes,
And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
green, blue, whatever. Green.
Green. Your Honor, would the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected.
Thank you, Judge. And you said your mom's name is Annette. Do you have any sisters?
Yes, 2.
What are their names?
Kenyatta Harris and Marquita Harris.
Are they older, younger, something else?
Oh, there. Marquita is a twin. She's my twin, same age.
Okay. And Kenyatta's older?
Yes,
Okay. Do you have any nieces or nephews?
yes,
Do you know someone named Neziah Harris?
yes.
What's your relationship to her?
My relationship to her, she is my niece. I'm her aunt.
Okay. And whose daughter is she?
My older sister is Kenyatta Harris.
Okay. And did you have any nicknames for Neziah?
Yes, we all called her Tudda.
And is that Tudda?
Yes,
And did Neziah ever know Jarvis through you?
yes.
Okay. And when did Neziah and Jarvis first meet?
When she was little, like age 2.
And can you kind of describe the relationship between Neziah and Jarvis?
Should be just the uncle and the niece relationship, no more than that.
How often would Jarvis be around, like at your house with you?
He will call or say, can he come see the kids, or the kids will ask, can he see their dad? And he will come, pull up either to my house where I used to live or at my mother's house.
Would Neziah ever be around?
All the kids will be around.
To your knowledge, would Neziah ever text Jarvis?
From my knowledge, no, unless I will have her to text.
But to your knowledge, you didn't know of any kind of separate outside relationship?
No.
Would there ever be times where, where did you know Jarvis Butts to work?
Pardon?
Where did you know Jarvis Butts to work?
Where did I know him to work at?
Yes.
He worked at 2 different locations. The first location would be on East Warren, and the other location would be on Gratiot and Connor.
And what were those locations?
Those are the auto repair shop.
Okay. Would you ever know desire to help Jarvis Butts at his shop?
Yes, he will call me and say, hey, if I can get our daughter and Messiah to come and work up at the shop. And I would say, let me ask my mom first regarding Messiah.
And which daughter of yours would that be?
That would be my oldest, Janiyah.
Okay. Would you ever know Messiah to go to Jarvis's shop alone?
No.
Whose birthday is on or around September 26th?
That's my my 4th oldest birthday.
Okay. Do you recall a birthday party on September 26th of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And was Jarvis there?
No.
Okay. And that would have been his son's birthday party?
Yes.
Were there ever times that you would text Jarvis off of a text now number?
The only time I would text Jarvis off a text now number is if my phone is off. Other than that, no.
And do you recall the numbers that you would text Jarvis from?
Yes.
Okay. And does a 586-510-5161 sound familiar?
Yes.
And what number is that?
That used to be my old number.
And is that number that you would text Jarvis from?
Yes.
Okay. And what about a 586-842-4504?
That was the number before this number.
Before the 510 number?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a number you would also text Jarvis from?
Correct.
And what number did you have for Jarvis Butts?
The 313-585-8719.
And did you have any numbers for Messiah?
It was a funny looking area code. The area code was a 231.
Okay. I want to show you some messages from People's Exhibit 16 and ask you some questions about them, okay?
Okay.
Miranda, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to direct you to messages on or about June 27th of 2023. Do you recall those messages? Did you send any of those messages to Jarvis Butts?
No.
Okay. And do you know, I believe there's a phone number here that's highlighted. Whose phone number do you know that to be?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay, and you don't recall ever sending any of those messages?
No.
Okay. And now I want to direct you to messages from June 28th of 2023. How about any of these? Did you send any of these to Jarvis Butts?
No.
What about any messages from July 2nd of 2023? Did you send any of those?
No.
What about messages from August 26th of 2023? Did you send any of those to Jarvis Butts?
I'm sorry, was that 26?
August 26th.
No. These aren't my messages.
Did Jarvis Butts ever tell you that Neziah texted to meet up on January 9th, 2024?
No.
Did you tell Jarvis Butts about not being able to locate Neziah on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
And tell me, how did you tell him that?
I called him. He didn't answer. I sent him a message asking him, have he seen Tuda, any whereabouts? And I said no Tuda, and he responded back, oh wow.
I didn't hear what you said, the last part.
Last part I had, I texted him. Well, at first I called him. He didn't answer. The second time I sent him a message, still no Tuda. He replied back, oh wow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
And just for record references, I'm showing her what's going to be proposed, People's Exhibit 48. Ms. Harris, those text messages that you just referenced, do you see those on this page?
Yes.
Okay. And so it's fair to say you stated to Mr. Butts, well, first of all, whose phone number is this at the top?
The phone number is my old telephone number.
Okay, and who is the phone number below that?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay. And is this, I guess, do these fairly and accurately represent these? Six messages sent between you and Mr. Butts on January 9th, 2024 through January 11th, 2024.
The first page is, yes, it's correct. Second page is correct. Yes.
Okay. And so on January 9th, like you had indicated before, you had stated that you told them that there was still no Tuda.
Correct.
Okay. And okay. And on January 11th, was Neziah still missing?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ask Mr. Butts to do something?
At this point, I just asked if she's going to read from the text message, just admit the exhibit.
I
You have an
can.
issue with moving to admit?
No, Judge.
Okay.
Do these fairly and accurately represent text messages between you and your phone to Jarvis and his phone between, well, they start back earlier, some from through January 21st of 2024. These fairly inaccurately represent text messages between
Yes.
you and your phone to Mr. Butts and his phone?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 48.
Objection.
Faith will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. So on January 11th, did you ask Mr. Butts to do something?
Yes.
And what is it that you asked him to do?
I asked him, can he share the missing flyer on his Facebook page?
Okay. And did you send him a copy of that missing flyer?
Yes.
Okay. And to backtrack just a little bit, on December 3rd, 2023, do you recall sending messages asking Mr. Butts if he needed Neziah for anything?
Yes, I do remember.
Okay. So do you remember this text on the first page of People's Exhibit 48?
Yes, I do remember this message.
Okay. And did you send that message?
Yes.
Okay. And what did the message say?
To the said, do you still need her to?
Okay. And do you know what is that referring to?
It was, Tilda had asked me to contact Jarvis and see if he still needed them to clean up.
Okay. And that would be to clean up his shop?
Yes.
Okay. And to fast forward, on January 21st, 2024, you sent some messages to Mr. Butts, that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And can you read these last 3 messages?
These To be honest, these messages I seen into the inbox to you, I really don't know what to believe anymore. Stay away, Ramon, I mean it. The next message is I don't know what to say, or Tilda is on. Says this shit doesn't sit right with me. Call it what you want, I'm good, period. It says this for life. Nigga, I thought about it, and you can pass it.
And
And don't call me, no need to explain shit. I already see it.
okay. So you were referencing some messages that you saw.
Correct.
Tell me, how did messages? Well, first of all, where these messages? Where were they at?
The day of Officer Gardner came to pick up Neziah's tablet. My mom asked me to put it on the charger. I put it on the charger. Officer Gardner, after that, Officer Gardner called and said she's on her way.
This is hearsay. Without saying what.
Okay, I'm sorry. The officer had called and said that they was on their way to come
Still
pick up
hearsay?
the tablet.
Okay.
Okay. So
Sustained as far as hearsay.
yes, thank you, Judge. Okay, continue.
So before the tablet was picked up, I looked inside Tilla's tablet. She has 2 passwords that I normally know. So one of them is referenced for her brother's birthday. So I put the first password in, it didn't work. So I put the second password in. So the first thing I went to was Instagram, which I was scrolling. And I seen Jarvis Butts' Instagram page. I clicked on his page and I seen 2 messages.
Okay, and what were the messages that you saw? Who were they between, first of all?
Neziah, my niece, and Jarvis.
Okay, and what were the messages that you seen?
It was roughly 2 messages that I have seen that I can recall. States,
I'm going to object to this as hearsay. They have not been admitted, and the messages themselves would be the evidence.
Were they of any, were the messages of a sexual nature?
no,
Okay, and you said you saw 2 messages.
yes.
Okay, did you see anything else?
It was 2 It was 2 sent pictures, but you can't really make anything out. It wasn't nothing there, but you know, it was a picture was sent.
Okay. What did seeing those messages, what did they cause you to do?
Well, when I see no messages, I called him.
Who's
and
that?
Jarvis Butts.
Okay.
Called him while he was at work, asked him, what is these messages I seen between you and my niece? And he said, what messages? Said it's 2 particular messages that states out and it's a picture. And he stated that, I don't know, these messages, I told him what the messages were, and he said it was probably our children was messaging him. And I stated no, because I know how our children.
Reading those messages, is that what caused you to text
Mr. Butts, yes.
Mr. Butts, in that you've seen the messages in the inbox and you don't really know what to believe anymore?
Correct.
Okay. One second, Rich. So, Shannon, I want to take you back to January 9th. Were you home that day?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see Neziah that day?
My senior did that morning, correct.
Okay. And do you remember what she was wearing at all?
Her coat and her uniform at the time, she had on some blue jeans. I just know the coat she had on.
What was the coat that she had on?
She had on, it was a 90s coat with all the characters on it.
Okay. And you recall seeing her wearing that the morning of January 9th?
Correct.
And Your Honor, may I approach People's already Exhibit 2?
Yes.
I'm going to show you People's Exhibit 2. Can you tell me, do you recognize a coat in this photo?
Yes.
And whose coat do you recognize that to be?
Neziah's.
Okay. Now, after you, when you saw Neziah that morning, what did you do the rest of the morning?
Nothing, I was at home with my mom and my 2 children.
And do you ever leave the house at any point that day?
No, I was at the house the whole entire day.
Okay. And do you know what time Neziah would normally get home from school?
On certain days, she will stay for after school, and then on certain days she will come home. The days she will stay for after school is 6, and the days that she don't is at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And on January 9th, do you know if Neziah had the after-school program?
Yes. At that time, my mom took her out of the after-school program, so she will come home directly at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And were you home at 3 o'clock?
Yes.
And did you see Neziah come home?
No.
Okay. And did you see her come home at all the rest of the night?
No.
Okay. Did you leave at any point after 3 o'clock?
No.
Okay. Did you, yes, when Neziah didn't come home, did that cause you to experience or feel any type of way?
It did. When she didn't come home is when my mom went to go pick up the other 2 children from the after-school program. They knocked on the door and they had asked a question and said,
Objection. Sounds like hearsay.
Isn't hearsay, actually.
I think you said she said.
She asked a question?
I'm
Yes.
just getting ready to say a question. Okay,
What
finish
was
what
the
you were
question?
saying.
What was the question? that was asked?
The 2 children had asked me, Mom said, did
That's the hearsay.
did
Mom-
Neziah come home?
The hearsay is mom said.
Okay, so were you asked directly whether Neziah came home?
So my mom was still in the car, I was inside the house. They was coming to the house, walking up to the door. When I opened the door, they asked me, Mom said, did Neziah come home? I said no.
And was Messiah home at all?
No.
Okay. And did you do any sort of looking for Messiah that night?
Yes.
What did you do?
I called my twin sister. I called some of her friends that stays close by. If they had seen Naziah, heard from Naziah and everything. And when I reached out to my sister, she said no. Her friends said no. If she wanted me to call police, she said no, she will take it up in the morning.
Okay. Just one second. Shannon, did you a pair of red and black Nike shoes?
Yes.
Okay. And if I showed you a picture of them, would you be able to identify them?
Yes.
Okay. Karen, may I approach?
Yes.
And for the record, this is going to be from People's Proposed Exhibit 14, and it'll be picture 34. Do you recognize these shoes?
Yes, that's a pair of shoes that my mom bought for her to the birthday.
Okay, thank you. Now, back on the 9th, you said your mom was going to file a police report in the morning.
Correct.
Okay. Did you go with her to file a police report in the morning?
No, it was my older sister.
Okay. Did you do anything on the 10th as it relates to trying to find Isaiah?
Yes. We went out, I and some others went out to go get some pictures, made copies. We went to other stores, passed out flyers, and everything that we need to do, like what was asked of us to do.
Okay. And since January 9th, 2024, have you seen Isaiah?
No.
Have you, since January 9th, 2024, have you heard from Isaiah?
No.
Nothing further at this time, Judge. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Harris, I also have some questions for you. You and Mr. Butts have been, or you've known him for about 12 years?
Correct.
And fair to say that you were in a dating relationship with him for most of that time?
Correct.
But towards the end, like last year, it was more off and on, fair to say?
No, it was on and off for years.
For years, okay. But you have 5 children with him?
Correct.
And this right?
Correct.
Sometimes you go to a hotel to have sex with him?
Correct. When, yes.
And that motel was the Park Creston?
Or the SharePoint.
There's more than one?
Multiples, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And it's in Harper Woods,
Correct.
on Harper?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Butts, or do you suspect that Mr. Butts has taken other women to those motels also?
Correct.
You do?
Mm.
That you have, of your 5 children with him, 2 are girls
Yes.
and 3 are boys.
Correct.
And in January of this time, well, January 2023, you were living with your mother on Bedford, correct?
Correct.
Prior to that, were you living in Clinton Township?
Correct.
When did you leave the Clinton Township home and move to the Bedford home?
October 23.
And so there were times when you were in Clinton Township that Mr. Butts would travel out there to see the kids,
Correct.
and then when you moved to the Bedford address, he would go to the Bedford address to see the kids.
Correct.
And then the Bedford address is when Neziah was also living there, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you just testified that on January the 9th, you were living at that house? in
Correct.
Bedford, and you were there during the day?
Correct.
And so were you one of the first people that realized that Neziah did not come home when she was expected to be home?
Well, I didn't realize it until I had got a question. By the other kids had asked, did I have Neziah came home yet, or have I seen her? And I said no.
Do you remember what time that was in the afternoon?
That was in the evening. My mom picked them up 6 o'clock.
So that was about 3 hours later than she normally should have been home?
Correct.
Was that surprising?
Yes, it was. One, we thought that she was at the after-school program, but it didn't dawn on no one until my mom came back to the house, and she wasn't here, or she wasn't in the car when they had got in the car.
And so when you all realized that she wasn't at school and she wasn't at home, was that surprising?
Yes.
But you didn't go to the police that night?
No.
Did she ever not return home previously?
No, this is her first time ever doing this.
Did she have friends in the neighborhood that she would go visit?
Yes.
And you said, I think, are those the folks that you contacted to ask?
Yes.
You were just shown a pair of red and black Nike shoes, right?
Correct.
And you identified those shoes as being Neziah's shoe. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's a shoe that looks like the shoe that Neziah is wearing, correct?
Correct. Correct.
You can't say for sure that that
Yes,
exact
sir.
shoe came from Neziah, is that fair to say?
Correct.
And I think you testified that very rarely would you ever use text now to contact Mr. Butts.
Right.
Only if your phone was turned off,
Right.
and that was not very often.
Right.
Would Neziah ever have access to your phone to use it?
Yes, like she would ask, hey, TT, can I see your phone? Sure, I wouldn't mind, yes.
And so would she text from that phone?
Probably, yes.
Did you ever notice any text from
No,
her on your phone?
no.
Did you ever notice if she had used your text now?
I would notice something and say if me and Jarvis would, we won't be on the same page seeing eye to eye, and I will call him, and he said, why you will call me, or like, why you continue to keep calling me? And I would say, I haven't called you all day, or in 2 days. Then I will go ask my kids, like, hey, are y'all calling your dad? Because I haven't called him.
And until you looked in your account, did you ever notice anything on your phone that caused you to be concerned?
No.
Between Isaiah and Mr. Butts?
No.
And Mr. Butts, we said would come to the house to see his kids.
Correct.
He would drop them off at the house sometimes. He would take them places. He would pick Janiyah up from there.
Like he, depending on like if he will pick up the kids, if I need him to pick up the kids from the pickup or drop off spot, for school, he will do that, yeah.
And then take them either to Clinton Township when you lived there, or to the Bedford Street address?
Correct.
Okay. But most times he wouldn't even come to the house, right?
He will come to the house, he will call me first before he will come.
Would he come into the house physically, or would he sit in his truck outside?
50%. He will sit in the car and wait till the kids come outside, or he will knock on the door.
Okay. Would he be in the house for any length of time?
Only if I'm inside the house.
Like if he was visiting with you?
Yes.
Okay. So you never knew a time that Mr. Butts would have been alone in the house with Isaiah?
No.
You can't think of a time when he had been in the house and had gone down to the basement with her?
No.
Or any other room in the house alone?
No.
Would Mr. Butts have ever been at that house if another adult, like you or your mother, weren't there?
He will, what you said,
Would Mr. Butts ever be at the house if you or your mother weren't there?
no. Well, it will be me or another person.
The idea that anything was going on between Mr. Butts and Isaiah is shocking to you, right?
Correct.
You had no idea.
No.
You never noticed anything between Isaiah and Mr. Butts that made behavior.
Not at all.
You didn't notice Mr. Butts paying any special attention to her.
No.
Certainly, if you had noticed that, that would have caused you concern.
Yeah, it would have raised a whole bunch of red flags.
Likely, you wouldn't have invited him into the house, correct?
Correct.
You found it hard to believe even that Mr. Butts would hurt Isaiah.
But I won't know, I don't know, what he will do if a person's back is up against the wall.
But the thought of that was hard for you, at least at one point, to believe,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
Now, during the time that you and Mr. Butts were together, he had children with other women,
Correct.
pretty consistently with other women,
Correct.
more than one woman.
Correct.
Some of those women you actually knew about, correct?
Correct.
They lived kind of even in the same neighborhood on the east side.
Correct.
But you suspect that there were women that you didn't know about?
Correct.
Even one that lived, or more than one that lived over on the west side?
Correct.
You believe he was going out there to see somebody around the end of 2023, January 2024?
Correct.
Before January the 9th, you had a conversation with Naziah about a location on Outer Drive in Belfour?
Yes.
And that was surprising to you, right?
Correct.
That's on the east side of Detroit?
Yes.
Did you end up giving her directions on how to get to that location?
Yes.
Why did you give her directions?
I was just getting out the shower and just getting myself together. She asked me, she said, "Hey, Titi," she said, "where is Belford and Outer Drive?" And I told her, I said, "You know exactly where Belford and Outer Drive at." I said, "Outer Drive is right where the wine basket at." And I said, "You know where Belford at?" And she was like, "I get Balfour and Bedford mixed up." So I said, "You already know Belford is before Bedford." So she said, "Okay." She said, "Because we are in school and we are learning about our surroundings." So I said, "Okay." But that was the only two things that she had asked, was where was Outer Drive and Balfour at.
Does that location have any special significance to you?
No.
Do you know anybody at that location?
No, the only thing that I'm familiarized with just picking up Jarvis on Outer Drive and Balfour. It's just on a corner.
On a corner?
Mm-hmm.
Not at an address?
Not on the address.
Okay. When was this conversation that you had about that location? Do you recall?
This was right before Naziah went missing.
Like how soon before? Weeks?
Maybe it was still like in that same week she went missing.
Mr. Butts didn't have his own vehicle, fair to say?
No, he didn't.
He generally used
His female's vehicles.
Did you know Mr. Butts to park at one location and maybe walk to another to kind of try to remain undetected?
Pretty much, yes.
So would it be not out of the ordinary for you to have to pick him up at a random, or what seemed to be a random location to you?
Correct.
You lived with Naziah for, you said, from about October until January the 9th.
Correct.
So you spent a lot of time around her?
Yes.
You knew her mannerisms?
Yes.
Her demeanor?
Yes.
Her moods?
Yes.
Did anything strike you as out of the ordinary about how she was acting at any point in time in December or January before she disappeared?
No, Naziah, nothing have changed her character, none of that. She was just the same old Naziah. Nothing was different.
Naziah has a brother, right?
Yes.
Is it an older brother?
Yes.
Now, he had run away in 2023, is that right?
Yes.
Objection relevant.
How was it relevant?
If it's something that had bothered her or something that she was dealing with at the time, could cause a change in her demeanor.
Okay. Overruled.
So she did have a brother that ran away?
Correct.
And was that something that she struggled with?
She didn't like the fact that her brother was running away. Yes, she didn't like it.
Around the same time, around the time December, January, was her mother supposed to come visit, her biological mother?
Yes.
Did she end up coming to see Naziah?
Yes.
She did. Did Naziah seem to have some big emotions about that contact?
Yes.
It was complicated, fair to say?
Yes.
Did she talk to you about that?
All the time.
Did you notice anything? You said you didn't notice anything in a change in mood. So
No.
what about physically?
No.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Can you read it right?
Yes. Did you go to the Park Crest Inn on January 9th, 2024, Mr.
No.
Butts?
No.
And fair to say, you knew of Mr. Butts having other female friends?
Yes.
Okay. And even some that you didn't know about?
Correct.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that you don't always know, or you didn't always know what Mr. Butts was doing?
No.
Okay. You couldn't account for his whereabouts every minute of the day?
No.
Did you know him to, one of those cars that he would use, did you know him to have a white Escalade type truck?
Correct. Yes.
And you were asked some questions about Outer Drive and Balfour. Fair to say, from what I gathered, the only connection you have to that area is Jarvis Butts.
Correct.
Okay, so he's the only one you would associate with that area.
Correct.
You knew Mr. Butts to have other children?
Correct.
Okay, and you knew him to have clearly have gotten other women pregnant?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, were all those women adults?
To my knowledge, yes.
Did he, to you, ever hide getting another woman pregnant?
No.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, you are done testifying. Please watch your step. Excellent. Who's going to be doing the next witness?
I will.
Okay, as far as time.
It's short.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll do one more witness and then we'll take a break.
At this time, we people call Marilyn Lee.
The system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready for war. With the power of the people, we'll make them see a world of justice unite.